In a crowded afternoon ceremony in Rappaport Treasure Hall, the Brandeis University National Women's Committee bestowed its highest honor on another Brandeis institution.
Joyce Antler, class of '63, is a Samuel Lane Professor of American Jewish History and Culture. Professor Antler is a beloved teacher who has always guided and inspired her students, while at the same time challenging them to question, probe, and consider the possibilities far beyond the obvious.
So Antler was an obvious choice as the latest recipient of the Abram L. Sachar Medallion for exceptional contributions as a historian and educator. In a career that's been full of accolades, she says this latest honor stands out.
I knew Abram Sachar when I was at Brandeis, the founding president, so it was especially meaningful to me. And the Brandeis Women's Committee, a fabulous group, so dedicated to the core mission of Brandeis, working with our library, our students, and it's really a women's institution of the highest caliber, so on both those grounds it meant a great deal to me.
As you look around her office, it's clear what else means a great deal to Joyce Antler. Her passion for women's issues and family. She's even formed a mother-daughter act with her comedian daughter Lauren, who attended the Sachar ceremony.
I actually do stand up about being the daughter of a Jewish feminist, and she talks about being a Jewish mother. And in many ways, I think it's a real gift to be able to have that time with her. I think she excels in many ways at being a mother and also a scholar. We feel very, very proud to have her, which is just kind of a nice way of saying that we're sort of in awe of who she is, even as her daughters. So in many ways today is like any other day, except that she's being awarded in a place that she feels so connected to, and it's been such a special home for her.
In many ways, Brandeis and Joyce Antler have grown together. When she first started teaching here nearly 30 years ago, the university's landscape, both physical and academic, looked a lot different.
I have a very special perch watching Brandeis grow and change and hopefully being part of that change. When I was a student at Brandeis, there was no American Studies department. There was no American Studies. There was certainly no Women's Studies program when I was at Brandeis. There were no Women's Studies courses. I never had a woman faculty member, so how exciting for me to be really one of the founding members of the Women's Studies program, a chair for 10, 11 years, and part of the growing Women's and now Women's and Gender Studies program.
The walls in Antler's office are covered with the history of those programs. There are flyers from conferences in the 1980s and mementos from special events featuring female leaders like Bella Abzug and Gloria Steinem. But there's one woman, the Jewish mother, who especially captivated her, forming the basis for her latest book, You Never Call, You Never Write.
In previous books, I've really talked about the importance of Jewish women in politics and social life, and readers would come up to me and say, well, why do they make so much fun of us? Why are we the source of mockery? I didn't have an answer, so I began to study it intellectually. I learned about comedy, but I also learned that social science, psychiatry, so many other fields have seen the Jewish mother as fair game. But in the course of doing this book, what was interesting and unexpected was that I came to embrace the Jewish mother in me. So I think I tell a story that's unusual, and in telling the story, I learned about myself.
Antler's story at Brandeis began when she was just a student in the early 1960s, and she has no plans to close the book on her Brandeis career anytime soon.
What's so interesting about Brandeis, and I found this as a student, and I've seen it in my career as a faculty member, when you have a new idea, when there's something that you'd like to do, there's a way to do it. And I have a lot of ideas. There are a lot of things that I want to do in the American Studies department, in education where I also work, and in Women's and Gender Studies. So I'm going to be developing some new courses. I've got some new projects, and I'm raring to go.
Max Perlstein, Brandeis Now.